So, you have a job, but you also have a side hustle. If this sounds like you, then you're in luck, because this week I'll provide you a few things to consider when trying to make your side hustle your main hustle, right here on the Brandprenuer. Hey, my name is Nick F. Nelson, and you are watching the Brandprenuer, the place where we help you build your brand and run it like a business. Last week, my episode was focused on those individuals who already own a business and are now contemplating whether or not they want to move forward and keep that business. That episode garnered a lot of great response, but it also led to a lot of requests for me to provide some insights in terms of, Nick, how do I start a business if I have a full-time job? Personally, I can relate to wanting to understand this information, as that's a part of my own entrepreneurial story. For years, I worked as an IT executive while building an agency at the same time. As a matter of fact, there is a span of 5 years that I just simply can't remember. That's because I was working my IT job during the day, and in the meantime and in between time, working on my passion. Now, before we get started, what I am not saying is to put your current job in jeopardy. You need to pay your bills, and I want you to continue to pay your bills. What I do want you to understand is that moving from your side hustle and making it your main hustle is not by any means an overnight project. So, you get it. Let's not belabor it. You want to understand how to make your side hustle your main hustle. The first thing to take into consideration when making your side hustle your main hustle here is, are you making, are you selling, are you producing something that people actually want? Businesses should not be solely driven off of your interest. If there is nobody out there asking for it, why in the world are you trying to sell it? The very nature of business is to solve a problem. Businesses solve problems. As long as people have problems, they will always seek to businesses and or individuals to get things done quicker, faster, smarter. There is no better example of this than the technology sector. For those of you who can think back 10 years, I'm going to mention a few names. Google, Uber, Netflix, Amazon. 10 years ago, those names meant absolutely nothing. Today, some of you don't even know how you manage the day without them. The one thing in common about all of those brands is that they found a problem and executed a solution masterfully. Not only did they execute a solution, they found a way to properly monetize that solution. So how do you know if your product or what it is you're selling is something that people want? You have to do the research. You have to ask questions. And I'm not just talking about your friends who are going to say yes anyway. Bottom line, you have to determine, is there a market? And not only is there a market, can you produce a product or provide a service that's interesting enough to attract that market? One entrepreneur that I follow all of the time is Mark Cuban. One of his favorite quotes is, if you really want to be successful at something, you have to put in the time. You won't just ask somebody if it's a good idea. You'll go figure out if it's a good idea. Another example that I leverage all the time in terms of creating something that people want is the Chick-fil-A story. Why is it that every time I go to a Chick-fil-A, it matters no time of day, there is always a line? That's because Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-A, identified a problem, figured out a solution. 15 years after being in the fast food business, Cathy found a pressure cooker that could fry a chicken sandwich in the same amount of time as a hamburger. People have been lining up around the corner for that chicken sandwich ever since. Next, pricing is everything. There is no way you can make your side hustle your main hustle unless you're making enough money on your side hustle to support and sustain your lifestyle. Now, I hear some of you saying, well, Nick, I can make lifestyle adjustments. I don't need to live on as much money as I make today. Okay. Yes, you do. Not only do you want to sustain your current lifestyle, I want you to sustain a lifestyle that you've never even dreamed of. I know that's what I'm shooting for. Pricing sets the tone for your business. As a matter of fact, nothing says more. Think about it. This question goes to my ladies out there. If a pair of Louboutins cost the same as a pair of Steve Maddens, would you still place the same value on Louboutins? No. The pricing of that particular shoe makes a statement, and it draws a line in terms of market. That's exactly what pricing does for your brand as well. Now, what is pricing? Pricing is simply the exchange rate you put on all the tangible and intangible aspects of your business. It's the value for cash. It's also the lever that has the highest and quickest impact on maximizing your profit. Again, it sets the tone. Higher prices tell consumers that your brand has higher quality, although that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. Lower prices mean that your brand is more affordable and economical and also targets a specific market as well. The next thing to consider when making your side hustle your main hustle is you got to get clients. I had a good friend not too long ago call me and ask me, hey Nick, can you help me with my business plan? And I quite frankly told her, yes, I could help you with your business plan, but quite frankly, I'd rather focus on helping you understand how to get customers. This is a lesson I learned from my business partner Terrell a long time ago. He used to tell me, Nick, if we don't have clients, we're not in business. And he was absolutely right. I'm not saying that business plans aren't important, but what I am saying is that a business plan won't necessarily help the performance of a business. You should attempt to sell your product to the potential customers even if it doesn't exist yet. That way you have at least talked to your potential customer and have an understanding of what it is that they want. Another reason why focusing on client acquisition above and beyond prioritizing your business plan is that it establishes past performance. See, before hiring you or buying your product and services, people are going to want to understand who have you done it for. Traditionally, business plans have been leveraged to obtain financing. More and more these days, you will find out that people are wanting to understand, have you invested in yourself first before seeking to provide you capital or funds? I know some of you out there watch Shark Tank. What's one of the first questions that they ask any young entrepreneur that walks through those doors? How many units have you sold? What was your revenue? They want to understand, do you have clients? Next is, you have to do great work. If your business is mediocre, your results will be mediocre as well. There is no greater differentiator for your business than excellence. Excellence is the differentiator. Nowadays, there are far too many competitors out there, far too many people trying to do the same thing that you're doing, trying to reach your same market, and quite frankly, who do it better than you. Doing good work and establishing a loyal customer base that will go out there and actively sell your product for you is the very fastest way for you to get your name out there and for you to make your side hustle your main hustle. Next, you need to know when to scale. If you're obtaining customers and you're doing good work, there will come a time when you will have increased business. So what does scaling look like? Scaling looks like putting business processes in place that are repeatable, identifying and hiring the right people and or finding the right partners. I'm not saying put people on payroll. What I am saying is identifying those individuals that can provide a product and or service for you that you can pay them and then put some on top for yourself. The other reason to scale is that some of the most successful organizations aren't dependent on one or two people. At the end of the day, your goal should be to have a lifestyle, not to have a lifestyle business. A business where you can't ever go on vacation, where you always feel that you have to micromanage everything. If you're having to do all of that yourself, you could have stayed at your main hustle. Lastly, you have to know when to take the leap. So, this is where you come in conflict with you. What do I mean by that? One word, fear. Giving up your main hustle that has benefits, pretty consistent paycheck, that has or at least appears to have some sense of security, that can be a lot to give up. However, if you don't, there will come a time where you're not performing on your side hustle or your main hustle. Before making the leap, my pastor told me and my business partner, you can't be excellent in your spare time. And he was right. You can only be double-minded for so long before it doesn't work. You have to have some degree of focus. You'll see that things begin slipping, the quality is not where it needs to be on either end of the spectrum, and if you don't make some changes, you could lose both and be hustle-less. So is owning your own business scary? It can be. However, the one thing that's always kept me sound is that there are plenty of main hustles out there. And who knows, I might just find one again. In fact, isn't that the very nature of being an entrepreneur? Is swapping out your side hustle for a main hustle, and then dropping your main hustle for another side hustle. For those who really have a drive and a passion and a desire to put things out there in the atmosphere in the universe, I just think that's a mentality that you have. No matter what your hustle, produce something that people actually want. Price it appropriately. Do great work. Know when it's time to scale it up, and then don't be afraid and understand when it's time to make that leap. In life, you have limited windows of opportunity. Make sure you don't let your window close. Well, that's it for today. My name is Nick F. Nelson, and you're watching The Brandprenuer. By all means, please subscribe to this channel, like, and then share it with others. I give a lot of thought each week in terms of, what it is that we'll be talking about and discussing, and a lot of it is based off of your input. So I say thank you. Please leave me feedback in the comments. I'm always looking for that. And by all means, tell others about this show if you think that it will help them. Like I always say at the end of every episode, never be ashamed to promote your business or yourself, and do it shamelessly. You take care.